The Bay of Pigs was a failed military invasion of Cuba undertaken by the CIA. It was intended to overthrow the increasingly communist government of Fidel Castro. The Cuban forces of Fidel Castro defeated the army until 3 days.
Kennedy was angry to the military because they wanted to take decisions, but the president wanted to make clear that he was the government and he took decisions. He disagreed that they wanted to be part of the government.
The domino effect was rising and the leaders in military wanted to invade Laos, which Kennedy refused, so it made the military hate him and also get a bad relationship with society and the government.
The problem with East Germany and West was all about economy, and Russia asked to separate both and make a treaty, so Kennedy sent troops and the tension was growing. Kennedy said that a wall would be better than war, so he sent US troops to Germany. They built the famous Berlin Wall to calm down the temper. Even though this affected many families, it avoided the war. So here comes the phrase of a wall is better than a war.
The Operation Orsak was the project name of the possible invasion of Cuba planned by the United States military in 1962. The name was Castro by spelling his surname backwards. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the discovery of missiles of Soviet Union assembled in Cuba threatened the US government and considered several options, including a blockade, an airstrike, or a military strike against the Cuban missile positions.
Guerrilla was more effective than a conventional war because men could not die and was more of an internal problem inside the country. Kennedy liked this idea more and executed this idea more often. This plan was to get communist countries.
The Cuban Missile Crisis was a problem now to the US because Soviet nuclear missiles were enabled and the US felt alarmed. At first they didn't know, but thanks to the spy planes, they got images and started the tension between the USA and the Soviet Union.
The risk of Kennedy for not taking action would probably mean a nuclear war, but he did take action by putting a blockade to Cuba, so the ships that pass the line will cause a war. So the most dangerous moment was when the Soviet submarines sent bombs to United States ships because they thought they were attacking. This moment was decisive in the course of war because if the Soviet general launched the nuclear missile, there would have been a nuclear war.
The deal that solved this tension or crisis was a negotiation with the ambassador of Russia and Kennedy's brother that discussed about removing the bombs out of Cuba and the bombs in Turkey that were removed temporarily to get them repaired.
Obviously, the consequence of a nuclear war would have been very destructive, because it could mean the end of humanity and also the world, because radioactivity would have caused great damage and great problems.
The reaction of military in both sides were bad because all the military leaders wanted war, but the presidents prevented it, and they were left in bad terms by approving the removal of the nuclear bombs.
Kennedy was convinced to withdraw Vietnam's troops because he thought that war didn't mean anything and was a waste of troops and they were risking men's lives because that war was not necessary.
The space exploration to the moon for the US will take them to the lead because a man stepping first on the moon was a shock to the world and a great step in science also.
Finally, the relationship between Kennedy and military was not good. Kennedy challenged all the military leaders by not following their advice because some of the ideas could have been a disaster or possibly a nuclear war. Almost everyone of the military council hated Kennedy, so we think that they could be the ones that want him dead. Society was not very happy with him neither because of the Bay of Pigs and the removal of troops in Vietnam.